Hey guys, what's up? This is Zelric, and I'm attempting to make a Tactician Artillery Ballista build. The character I'm currently on right now that you can see is my first attempt at this. This is my Artillery Ballista Witch Hunter that I made for the last season, the current season that is up as of the time of this recording. As you can see, it's not super in-game. I only made it to 83. I can kind of go into a map and show you after I show you some stuff that I did. I didn't even get my Uber Lab. Ultimately, this was a one I designed pretty, like, I didn't follow a guide or anything, and it could be super suboptimal. I'm totally willing to see that, but what I was trying to do was go into just like totem damage and ignite, pretty basic, pretty fire damage, ignite, and totem damage and totem firing speed, stuff like that. And again, fully admit, I'm not a great build maker. It's not what I'm amazing at. I didn't have points, so ignore the ugly tree. But anyway, I admit that I'm not amazing at it, but I want to keep trying, right? So hopefully, maybe with some feedback from people or whatever, we can make a good build. Now, I'm not going to be going into the passive tree a lot right now with the build that I'm trying to Theorycraft as for now, because there's a lot of upcoming changes to not only the structure of the tree itself, there's a lot of nerfs and buffs coming to pretty much every skill in the game. They literally said that forget everything you know about PoE 2. Like, that was their words verbatim. So that implies that every skill in the game has been completely changed, and we really can't go off of much in terms of like what's already in the game. They've even said they rebalanced some of the existing ascendancies. So, with that in mind, my main goal is to go from this to this. I want to make a Tactician Witch Hunter build. And I'll go back towards the end of the video and show how my current build works versus a description of how I want my next build to work, and hopefully be a bit better. And basically, it'll just boil down to I want it to clear a bit faster, but I also want it to, I just want it to do more damage overall, because I think I was very lacking in that department the first time around. Probably partly just because I was new at it, and obviously I'm just not a great build maker, so I was just kind of winging it and flying on the fly. I didn't really go into like a lot of optimization for the tree setup and stuff like that. But anyway, to the real meat of what I'm trying to get at here, the Tactician seemingly will be pretty good for your artillery ballista setup. I haven't gotten into a lot of detail, but let's go and try and see what we can look at and see. And hell, I'll even try and do it with everybody here. And that's fine. We can kind of look at each node as we go. So here's the starting point right here. The first ones I see right off the bat is these small nodes are kind of meh for us if you go the minion side. But this one right here is probably the first thing. If you're artillery ballista, this is absolutely the first row you go. So this is totem damage small node, which is good, pretty good, not great. And then totems have 30% more skill speed, cannons ready. Totems only use skills when you fire an attack projectile. That can be a downside, but you're going to be doing stuff beside your minions anyway. Or not your minions, sorry, totems. They're not minions, they're totems. You're going to be firing stuff right beside your totems anyway to help clear, to help debuff enemies, stuff like that. That's just kind of how it works. So, first 2 points, first ascendancy points, you going into cannons ready. For 100% certain, that's what's happening. I'm unsure about supporting fire, because I don't really feel like we're going to be doing a lot of stat stacking on this character, especially since they already said that stat stacking has been nerfed in the upcoming patch. So while supporting fire looks really good, it seems like we'd be splitting ourselves too much to even think about using it. Polish that gear and stay light, use cover seems okay, but the max evade chance and max physical damage reduction of 50% each that's a lot. Even if you can defend with 200% armor, like 50% damage, physical damage reduction just seems like it's just not going to be enough, especially with how armor is. I don't know, man. I mean, do the upsides really... I don't know enough about the inner workings of the mechanic to know that this would be worth it. Off initial reading, it doesn't seem worth it to take for 2 points. This node does not seem worth it to take. This one, maybe. Extra stun threshold and extra ailment threshold is awesome, because that way, the more threshold you have, like say you're going pure evasion, which you may end up wanting to do. This is definitely designed more for a soft core environment, by the way, but what you're probably going to want to do is either pure evasion or hybrid, right? That's just where you are in the tree. It makes a lot of sense. Armor isn't in the best spot right now, so you can go pure evasion if you want, and that 100% of your evasion rating is extra ailment threshold seems really good, because it's not necessarily that you're immune to ailments, but if you just have a crapload of ailment threshold, then it'll be really hard for the enemies to even be able to do much of anything on you ailment-wise, which would be great. Then that leaves... So if you do 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe, or later on, but these two are definitely probably ones I'm going to want to take. Banner skills I didn't use all that much. Persistent buffs have... Okay, so you definitely take this. So what... Okay, I imagine we take a solid plan second. So the first lab is going to be cannons ready. That'll give you a pretty massive damage buff, because you're just going to be... All your totems are going to be going way faster. As long as you're firing, which you're going to be, so that's fine. Persistent buffs is honestly a mandatory at this point. 50% less reservation for your persistent buffs if they add some. I don't know if they're adding more support for buffs in this patch. They said 25 active skill gems. So, and we know that one of those is Raised Spectre. So not all of them are going to be Amazon related, spear related. So hopefully we get a couple extra good persistent buffs, and if not, we can at least hopefully get some of the ones that do exist have been either reworked or buffed to the point where they might be useful for us. So like the salvaged armor or whatever, the scavenged armor I think it was. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but in fact we could probably look it up here. Do I have... I'm poor. See how poor I am? Only 70 exalts. I know that's not really a lot. I quit playing early on, so anyway. Waste stones. No, we're looking for these. Spirit buffs. I mean, maybe, man. Maybe if these get decent buffs, these banners, it might be worth it to go them. To stack banners, because you can with the Tactician. Grants accuracy and more attack damage. Armor and evasion and move speed. And then ailment threshold. And flash charges. This is what I think I was looking... No, not that one. Scavenged plating. That's the one I thought about but didn't use. Later game, it's pretty high cost. Obviously, the 178 strength is pretty hard to get if you're not stat stacking. But if they've reworked things a bit, maybe it'll be a little bit easier and we can get it for like a more defensive. The banners are good, but these are probably what I'd be looking for if I got that. That's cool. I like that. So yes, I believe... Sorry, excuse me. I believe that this definitely is going to be a route we have to go. The persistent buffs being less reservation, certainly good. So 1, 2, 3, tentative positioning here. Let's read some of the other ones here. Suppressing fire, projectile damage builds pin, and then pinned enemies cannot perform actions. I mean, we are a projectile-based damage build with totems. Could we build up enough, and is it worth it? Because I think pin is more of a physical. No, I don't want pinned down. I just want pinned. Pinned. Certain skills and effects allow damage to build up pinned. Once this built up passes the enemy's pinned threshold, they are pinned, preventing them moving or being moved for 4 seconds. While pinned, you count as being immobilized. Okay, so it doesn't provide any damage, but basically what that ascendancy does. This is the artillery ballista right now, which is kind of lackluster. Anyway. You know what, though? This might not be bad. Depends on these nodes down here. If these nodes aren't something we really care about, then no. They are allied constructs. So that wording implies that they are allies. So if our main goal is to buff up our totems, we have to find out if, watch how I do it, allies in your presence gain attack damage, added attack damage equal to 25% of your main hand weapons damage. You see, your totems do use a percentage of your damage as its damage. Totems are not minions, and their skills benefit from your stats, though they have their own defensive stats and can be damaged and or killed. So, this set, and of course it is an attack-based skill, so I think that's not a horrible idea, to be totally honest, to get this. Allies in your presence gain attack damage equal to 25% of your main hand weapons. Now, this would definitely be an Uber Lab thing, because this is not going to have a lot of value to it until you have a really good weapon. This could be pretty worth it, especially since we're already planning on getting persistent buffs, or persistent buffs have less reservation. A solid plan might require us to go whoever pays best. Depends on if the banners get buffed, because I don't really think that they're worth it as 4 points on your ascendancy just for multiple banners. Which technically 2, because you're like, I already plan on going persistent buffs have less reservation, unless the persistent buffs haven't been nerf buffed that much, and then I didn't really need much more, because like in the first patch there wasn't any spirit gems that I even wanted to use on my build. So if nothing has been added spirit gem wise, then honestly we could probably just go ahead and not even think about using a solid plan, because we didn't need to in the first iteration of the build, and I probably won't need to again. So if that is the case, then we go cannons ready, then we go, you can't get watch how I do it unless you get a solid plan. Okay, so I think if we don't want more banners, if the banners haven't been buffed and spirit gems haven't been gotten or given in terms of more spirit gems, then cannons ready, suppressing fire, and right where we want them is probably our first 3 ascendancies. Because damage, and then this will provide a layer of defense just based off the fact that you're constantly building up pin on every enemy you hit. And that your totems hit as well. And pinned enemies become stunned on your 3rd lab. They can't perform actions at all. They are literally completely, not even just not able to move, they literally can't do anything anymore while they are pinned. Does it last a long time? Probably not, but you're constantly building up that pin, so I think it's pretty good. Now, That might be what you do, because of course if you get cannons ready, you have to be firing too. So what you do is you have a skill that just builds up a bunch of pin and doesn't necessarily do a dump ton of damage. You're just sitting there dumping your attacks into whatever you're firing, and it's constantly or consistently pinning them, which if you have this third ascendancy right here, it would consistently be making them not able to perform actions against you, thus making you safer. And of course, if you have AoE on that skill, then the more the merrier. That means the more enemies can be pinned. Everyone's smart enough to know that. 8% increased spirit's also good. So I guess that does leave. If we go this route, then persistent buffs have less reservation is going to be the Uber Lab. Because of course you won't even really need the more reservation, or the less reservation mod, until later game anyway, in my opinion, because just like in PoE 1, auras are very important, but you don't need to start stacking a lot of them until you start getting towards the later half of the game, where things start becoming more and more hard to deal with. So my tentative plan is on the fly, either cannons ready, or cannons ready is definitely your first ascendancy if you want to go more offensive. If you do want to play this hardcore, which I probably don't recommend because it is kind of squishy, you're relying on armor and life. I'm sure you can go out of your way to get some energy shield, but it's not recommended. Plus, we don't know a lot of the uniques and stuff, which will change a lot about what we're trying to do here. So, if you want to get tanky and you want to try and use this as more of a hardcore, I don't recommend it, but you could probably go polish that gear first. This whole side here seems to just not be good enough, in my opinion. But that is a side effect of the fact that armor just isn't good enough either. If armor was as good as evasion and energy shield, it might be great that this is a thing. But the fact that you get a maximum physical reduction up here of 50%, but it lets you defend with 200% of your armor, those are clashing unless I'm not thinking of this the right way. Don't those clash? Doesn't that, no matter how much armor you're defending with, the max amount of physical reduction it can give you is 50%. So you, like, this does literally nothing at a certain point. Now, that investment might be a lot, but still. And it also makes it to where your evade chance is 50%, which 50% is a lot, especially later game. 50% is just not a lot. So this node just doesn't seem, it seems like a non-starter to me. And so does this one. This one's okay as like an uber, if again, if no spirit gems are enticing us, then a solid plan, probably, it's great. It's a great node. Don't get me wrong. It's individually way stronger than polish that gear. But if there isn't a spirit gem or enough spirit gems for us to need it, there's no reason to go it yet. So you'd probably go polish that gear as your Uber Lab. Cannons ready. There's two different ways I'm thinking about this. You can go cannons ready always as your first, in my opinion. Then you could go a solid plan and watch how I do it. Then go polish that gear. Because I don't think you take the pin stuff unless you're getting the last node up here that gives you the ability for your pinned enemies to be basically completely stunned. Which they're not stunned. That's not what it is. They cannot perform actions. That is different. They are not stunned. It's just making it to where they cannot perform actions. Because if they're just the regular pin, as you read earlier, just immobilizes them, meaning they can't move towards you, but they can still hit you with their spells and ranged attacks if the enemy has some of that stuff. But this makes it to where they can't even do that. Now, the duration of your pin is going to be the problem there, and how often you can get it done, because you still need to build the pin on the enemies, and it's still going to last like whatever the default duration of pinning is. I don't know if there is a default, but anyway, it's not going to be a lot. So it will be slight interruptions in what they can do to you, but it won't be crazy. The two routes are definitely cannons ready, a solid plan, watch how I do it, polish that gear, or you go cannons ready, this one. Sorry, I'm not thinking. My brain stopped working for a second. Suppressing fire, right where I want them, a solid plan. Those are your two setups. You either lean into this, which actually your third lab might be the multiple banners, again, depending on if the banners either get buffed or if they're really something you like. This is good, because the banners will help you. It's going to be hard to position it, but they will help you, and having multiple banners would be really nice. Of course, they don't give you a buff while they're attached to you, but you can slam them down, and it's some buttons to press, but it's fine. Anyway, that's my thoughts on using Tactician for Artillery Ballista at this moment. Other people that have played this build a bit more than I have may have better ideas, but that's my idea. That's what I'm going to go with. I am choosing not to look at the more experienced players' versions of this build or what they might be theory crafting for now, just because I want to see if I can come up with what like a good thing is. It's just an exercise for me. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm definitely probably, I mean, I would imagine my version of this build being trailing behind several others, but that's just my thoughts on it, because I'm not as good of a build maker as other people are. Thank you for sitting here and talking with me about this. I know I've rambled on for quite a bit. I didn't really have a script, so I just kind of hit record and spilled my thoughts into the ether. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. If you liked the video, drop a like. Please subscribe. I don't really have a video presence on here, but I do plan on starting to make some videos if this is well received. Definitely. And I also do stream on Twitch, not under Relicism or the Gingers, which is my current username on YouTube. I go under Zelric12 is my Twitch handle. So if you want to come over there and see me, I stream every now and again. You can come and visit and say hi. I usually do it in the morning or later in the afternoon, typically. And right now it's a bit sporadic because it's hard to nail down a schedule. Anyway, neither here nor there. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Peace out.